Hey guys, tonight we're going to try something a little different. Instead of a grand journey spanning years and empires, we're going to slow down, way down. We're going to dive deep into a single 24-hour cycle, exploring the forgotten routines and quiet moments in the life of a Bedouin spice trader. Your biggest challenge tonight won't be navigating a treacherous mountain pass, but rather calming your modern, over-stimulated mind enough to appreciate the profound stillness of the desert. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to see where you're all listening from, so drop your city and the current time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see our little community spread across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. There is no alarm clock. There is no jarring sound pulling you from a dream. Instead, you wake to a subtle shift in the world. It's a change in temperature, a deepening of the silence. The air, which was merely cool for most of the night, now carries a genuine chill, sharp enough to prickle the exposed skin of your face. You lie perfectly still under the weight of a coarse wool blanket, your senses slowly coming online. Your home is a low, dark tent, a Bedouin shawl, or house of hair. It's woven from the dark, tough hair of your goats, a material of genius design. During the day, the noose weave allows the breeze to pass through, but when it rains, the fibers swell and tighten, creating a surprisingly waterproof roof. Right now, in the pre-dawn dark, it feels less like a structure and more like a womb, a pocket of familiar darkness carved out of the immense, indifferent black of the Arabian desert. You can hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of your family and the other men of your small caravan, sleeping just a few feet away. Beyond the tent flap, a deeper, more resonant sound, the occasional huff and sigh of a camel shifting its weight. These are the only sounds. The wind, which whispered and moaned for hours, has finally fallen silent. This is the quietest moment of the 24-hour cycle, a sacred hush that hangs over the land just before the world turns. You don't fight this wake of signals. You don't roll over and try to force yourself back to sleep. This quiet hour, what some modern historians call the watch, is a gift. Before the tyranny of artificial light, it was common for people to have a first sleep and a second sleep, with a period of peaceful wake of signals in between. This is your time. It is not insomnia. It is an ancient rhythm, a time for quiet contemplation, for prayer, or simply for being. Your eyes are open, but there is little to see. The darkness is a soft, velvet cloak, not an oppressive void. The only light comes from the heart of your camp. A single, stubborn ember from last night's fire glows with a faint, pulsing orange light, a tiny warm heart in the vast, cold body of the desert. You watch it breathe, a slow, steady pulse that seems to match your own. You are a trader. Your mind naturally drifts to your cargo. Tucked away in sturdy wooden chests are your treasures, fragrant lumps of frankincense resin from the remote waters of Darfur, tear-minus drop-shaped beads of myrrh, and smaller, precious caches of cardamom cinnamon that have traveled from even farther east. You think of their weight, their value, and the long journey ahead, but the anxiety doesn't take root. This quiet house seems to dissolve worry before it can fully form. Instead, you think of the path. You don't have a map, not in the way a Roman cartographer would understand it. Your map is in your head, a tapestry woven from stories, songs, and the stars themselves. You know the whispers of the wind can tell you if a storm is brewing, and the shape of a particular rock formation can confirm you are on the right track. But how much of this is a precise science? Scholars today still debate the exact nature of ancient Bedouin navigation. Was it a systematic, memorized knowledge of celestial bodies passed down through generations of poetry, an unwritten atlas of the stars, or was it more an accumulation of instinct, a deep, intuitive feel for the land that can't be taught, only learned through a lifetime of walking it? Looking out at the darkness, you feel it's a bit of both. The cold deepens one final time. This is the signal. The sun is still far below the horizon, but the earth is beginning to turn towards it. A new day is not beginning. It is being conceived in this final moment of profound quiet. You take a slow, deep breath, inhaling the cool, clean air. It's time to rise, not with a rush, but with the same deliberate, unhurried grace as the coming dawn. You swing your legs out from under the blanket, the movement slow and deliberate. For a moment, you just sit on the edge of your sleeping mat, letting your body register the transition from prone to vertical. Then, you push the heavy wool aside and rise. As you duck your head to exit the low opening of the tent, the cold air wraps around you completely. It's no longer just a prickle on your face. It's a full minus body embrace. Your bare feet meet the sand, and the sensation is a shock, but a familiar one. It's impossibly fine minus grained in sinks with a soft sigh under your weight. The cold is clean, drawing the last vestiges of sleep from your mind. You are not the only one stirring. A few other dark figures emerge silently from their tents, moving with the same practiced quiet. No words are exchanged. This time is for the self. You walk a short distance from the camp to a spot where the sand isn't touched. The stars are still magnificent, a brilliant, chaotic spray of diamonds on black velvet, more vivid now that your eyes have adjusted. The moon, a slim crescent, hangs low in the sky, offering just enough pale light to turn the dunes into soft, silvery ghosts. Here, you begin your morning ritual. It's not exercise, not in the way you might think of it. It's a quiet conversation with your own body. You stretch your arms towards the star-dusted sky, feeling the pull all the way from your heels through your spine. Your joints pop a little. It's not an unpleasant sound. It's the sound of a well-used machine being brought back online. You twist your torso, first to the right, then to the left, feeling the muscles in your back awaken. This is crucial. A day spent swaying on a camel's back can knot your spine into a painful braid if you don't prepare it. You bend forward, letting your hands dangle, almost touching the cold sand, feeling the stretch in the back of your legs. These movements are ancient, passed down through generations, a practical knowledge of what a body needs to endure the desert. Then comes the purification. Water is life, far too precious to be used for washing when the journey ahead is long and uncertain. This is where you rely on another gift of the desert cleans, and this is a practice known as tayammum, a ritual dry ablution. You kneel and gently strike your palms on the surface of the sand, not to pick it up, but to connect with its essence. You then pass your hands over your face, as if washing with light and air. You repeat the motion, this time wiping your right arm, then your left, from wrist to elbow. It might seem strange to use sand to become clean, but it's a profound act of adaptation. It's a recognition that purity is a state of intention, not just a matter of soap and water. The fine, cool grains of sand feel surprisingly cleansing, removing the residue of sleep and preparing you for what comes next. Historians and theologians still debate how much of this morning ritual was purely spiritual and how much was an inherited, practical knowledge of how to prepare a body for a day of extreme physical duress. Were these stretches just a preamble to prayer, or were they a form of folk medicine, a desert chiropractic art, understood to be essential for survival? The line was likely so blurred as to be non-existent. For you, preparing your body and preparing your spirit are one and the same. Now you are ready. You turn to face the direction of Mecca. You don't have a compass, but you don't need one. You've learned to read the stars, to know the paths of the sun and moon. You know the direction by heart, an internal compass calibrated by faith and tradition. Your morning prayer, the fad, begins as you move through the familiar sequence of standing, thawing, and prostrate, your forehead touching the cool earth. The vastness of the desert ceases to be intimidating. Instead, you feel a sense of your own place within it. You are a small, temporary being, but you are connected to a tradition that spans generations and a faith that spans the known world. You pray for a safe journey, for keen eyes, for the health of your camels. You pray for the family you left behind in the markets you hope to reach. When you finish, you remain kneeling for a moment. The world has changed again. The deep, inky black of the sky in the east is softening, ever so slightly, to a bruised purple. The brightest stars are beginning to fade. as if a celestial lamp minus lighter were slowly turning them down. You have centered yourself. The anxieties of the trade, the dangers of the path, they are still there, but they are now in their proper place. You have built a foundation of peace upon which the day can be built. You rise to your feet, the sand crunching softly, and turn back towards the camp. The faint orange glow of the single ember is now accompanied by a few others. The day has not yet begun, but its preparation is complete. You walk back towards the now minus stirring camp. The soft crunch of your footsteps a gentle rhythm in the quiet. The smell is what hits you first. It's not the sharp, clean scent of the cold desert air anymore. It's something richer, warmer, and deeply comforting, the aroma of roasting coffee. One of your companions, an older man named Collard, whose face is a roadmap of past journeys, is already crouched by the central fire pit. He has skillfully coaxed the embers you saw earlier back to life, feeding them small, dry twigs until a cheerful little flame is dancing. This fire is the heart of the camp, the center of gravity for warmth, food, and community. In his hands is a long minus handle, shallow metal pan called a mirmaz. HES gently shaking it over the flames, and inside, pale green coffee beans are tumbling unjustly. You watch them, mesmerized by the process. They gradually transform, darkening from dusty green to a warm beige, then to a rich cinnamon brown. As they roast, they snap and pop, releasing puffs of fragrant smoke. This is not a silent, automated process. It's a performance, a sensory ritual. The sound of the beans dancing in the pan, the sight of their color changing, the incredible, intoxicating smell, it all combines to awaken your senses more fully than the cold air ever could. Once Collard is satisfied with the roast, a medium minus light brown, a color he judges by eye and scent alone, he tips the hot beans into a large wooden mortar, the MIH bath. He picks up a heavy wooden pestle and begins to pound the beans. But he doesn't just crush them. He pounds them with a rhythm. Thump minus thump minus thump. A pause. Then thump minus thump. It's a specific, musical beat. This isn't just for show. Historians note that this rhythmic pounding served as an audible invitation for anyone within earshot, another traveler or a nearby camp. The sound of the coffee mortar was a universal signal you are welcome here. Come, share a cup with us. In the vast and often lonely expanse of the desert, this small sonic gesture was a powerful act of hospitality. As he pounds, you notice he adds a few other things to the mortar. He cracks open a green cardamom pod, its intensely fragrant seeds tumbling in with the coffee. A tiny pinch of saffron, its threads like spun gold. Bonus, sometimes a single clove might be added. This is the secret to Bedouin coffee, the tuehua. It's not just about the caffeine. It's a complex, aromatic brew, more of a spiced elixir than a simple beverage. The ground coffee, now a coarse, fragrant powder, is tipped into a beautiful, long minus spouted brass coffee pot. The diala, water from a precious goatskin bag, is added, and the diala is nestled directly into the hots and on embers at the edge of the fire. There's no frantic boiling, just a slow, patient heating. The brew is allowed to come to a near boil 3 times, being removed from the heat each time to let the ground settle. Patience is the key ingredient. Finally, it's ready. Collard retrieves a set of small, handleless cups, no bigger than a shot glass. From a leather pouch, he pours a small amount into the first cup, a gesture of respect for the host to taste first. He sips, nods in satisfaction, and then begins to serve. The eldest in the group is served first, a sign of deep respect. Then he comes to you. He holds the diala in his left hand and extends the small cup with his right. You accept it with your right hand as well, an important, unspoken rule of etiquette. The coffee is scalding hot. You sip it carefully. It's unlike any coffee you might know today. It's not a dark, bitter roast. It's light, almost T-like in consistency, but with an explosive, spicy flavor. The cardamom is at the forefront, warm and floral, with the subtle, earthy bitterness of the coffee underneath and a ghost of saffron on the finish. It's meant to be sipped, no gulp. It's a jolt to the system. a warm wave that spreads from your chest out to your fingertips. You are expected to drink at least 1 cup. To refuse would be an insult. You will likely be offered a second, and a third. The polite way to signal you have had enough is to gently cup from side to side when you hand it back. It's a silent, elegant language of hospitality. Scholars have long argued about the origins of coffee itself, with legends point to Ethiopian shepherds and goats, but its cultural significance was undeniably perfected in places like this. In the quiet moments around a desert fire, you hold the smell, warm cup in your hands, the steam rising to meet your face. The sun is now a brilliant orange slash on the horizon. The camp is fully awake, the sounds of packing and preparation beginning to stir. But for these few minutes, you are all united in this simple, sacred ritual. This small cup of spiced coffee is not just a drink, it's medicine. It's a social contract. It's the official start to the day. Once the last sip of coffee has been savored and the small cup returned with a polite shake, the gentle pace of the morning shifts. High new energy, a quiet industry, ripples through the camp. The day's real work is about to begin. Your first responsibility, before you even think about your own breakfast or belongings, is to your camels. In this world, they are not just beasts of burden. They are your partners, your lifeline, the difference between prosperity and a lonely death in the sands. You walk over to where the camels are resting. They are magnificent, slightly ridiculous creatures. They've spent the night hobble day, short rope tying up one furrow to prevent them from wandering too far and are now placidly chewing their cud, their long minus lashed, heavy minus lidded eyes regarding you with an air of supreme indifference. You approach our lead camel, a large, mature male named Defakir, which means proud. You've had him for years, and you know his temperament as well as you know your own. You begin with a soft clicking sound in your cheek and a low, murmuring greeting. The language you use with your camel is not one of sharp commands, but of soft sounds and gentle touches. This bond between a Bedouin and his camel has been a subject of fascination for outsiders for centuries. Is it just animal husbandry, or is there something deeper? Some historians propose that the co-dependent relationship was so profound that a trader's entire emotional state could be transmitted to his animals, making a calm demeanor not just a personality trait, but an essential to love the trade. An agitated trader meant an agitated camel, and an agitated camel on a narrow cliff pass was a recipe for disaster. Your first task is a visual inspection. You run your hands over Fakeher's course, shady coat, feeling for any burrs, thorns, or signs of insect bites from the night. You check his feet. They camels ride. Leathery footpaths are perfectly designed for the sand, but a sharp stone or a festering cut can cripple him. You gently lift each foot, examining the pads for any injuries. You look at his eyes, checking for any cloudiness or irritation from the dust. You check his nostrils, wiping away any crusted sand. Next, you check his most famous feature, his hump. You give it a gentle squeeze. It's firm and well minus shape. A lot of people, even today, mistakenly believe a camel's hump is full of water. It's not. It's a massive reserve of fat. A healthy, well minus fed camel has a large, firm hump. If the animal is starving or overworked, the hump will become flaccid and shrink. Fakeher's hump is a living testament to your good care and a reliable indicator of his readiness for the journey. It's his fuel tank, and right now, it's full. Then comes breakfast. You unroll a large leather sheet on the sand and pour out a small pile of dates and a handful of dry barley. It's not a lot, but it's high minus energy food. Fakir lowers his long, sinuous neck and begins to eat with his famously strange, sideways minus moving jaw. As he eats, you check his saddle and rigging. The saddle, a complex wooden frame, is designed to distribute the weight of the load evenly across his back, avoiding pressure points on his spine. You check every strap, every buckle, every knot. A worn leather strap that snaps mid-minus journey can mean a lost cargo of precious frankincense, a devastating financial blow. The thought makes you double minus check a particularly worn minus looking strap. making a mental note to reinforce it at the next oasis. Here's a small, curious detail about camel gear that often gets overlooked. Many of the decorative tassels and woven ornaments hanging from their bridles were not just for show. They were often imbued with specific scents, like cedar or juniper, which were believed to help calm the animals and ward off biting flies. It was a form of ancient aromatherapy for livestock, so while you check the structural integrity, you also get a faint, pleasant whiff of wood smoke and herbs from the decorations. Finally, you lead Efakir and the other camels of your string to the remnants of the campfire. Khalid has placed a few large, flat stones in the dying embers. You press the side of the camels' necks against these warm stones. It's a practice that seems odd, but it's a form of folk veterinary science. The warmth is believed to help ward off colds and respiratory ailments that can come from the dramatic temperature swings of the desert. The camels sigh and lean into the warmth, a clear sign of contentment. Only when your animals have been inspected, fed, and cared for do you turn your attention back to your own needs. This hierarchy of care is absolute. Your survival depends on them, so their well-being comes first. You look at your small herd, their jaws moving in a slow, meditative rhythm. They are silent, patient, and ready. Seeing them calm and prepared gives you a deep sense of security. The journey ahead is daunting, but your silent partners are prepared, and because they are, you are too. With the camels fed and a sense of calm readiness settling over them, the focus now shifts to the human elements of the camp. The sun has climbed higher, burning off the last of the pre-dawn chill, and the sky is a vast, cloudless dome of pale blue. It's time to dismantle your home. The process of breaking camp is a marvel of efficiency and teamwork, a silent ballet that you and your companions have performed hundreds of times. Your home, the black house of hair, which felt so permanent and safe just an hour ago, is about to disappear. You and your family members begin by taking out the sleeping mats, blankets, and personal belongings. Everything is rolled tightly unpacked into leather bags or wooden chests. There is no clutter, no extraneous stuff. Every single object you own has a purpose and a designated place. In a life of constant motion, minimalism isn't a lifestyle trend. It's a fundamental necessity. Then, the deconstruction of the tent itself begins. The structure is held up by a series of wooden poles and held taut by long ropes staked into the sand. First, the ropes are untied from their stakes. The stakes are pulled from the ground, shaken clean of sand, and bundled together. As the tension is released, the tent sighs and sags. The main poles are then carefully lowered, and the massive expanse of dark, woven goat-hair fabric is laid out flat on the ground. This fabric is the single most valuable possession of a Bedouin family. It represents shelter, safety, and identity. Historians and anthropologists who have studied Bedouin life often note that the tent is considered the woman's domain. While the men might lead the camels and navigate the trade routes, it is the women who are the masters of this domestic space. They are the ones who weave the fabric, who repair it, and who direct its assembly undecisively. You watch as the women of your group move with unpracticed expertise, folding the heavy cloth in a specific, methodical way. The folding technique is crucial. It's not just about making it compact. It's folded in such a way that it can be unfolded in the correct sequence for a quick setup at the next stop. A poorly folded tent can mean a frustrating, tangled mess when you arrive at your destination, exhausted and racing against the setting sun. Once folded into a dense, surprisingly compact rectangle, it's ready to be loaded onto a specific camel, one designated solely for carrying the heart of the home. Here's a peculiar detail about these tents: their dark color. You'd think a black tent in a hot desert is a terrible idea, attracting the sun's heat, but the science behind it is ingenious. The black fabric absorbs the sun's energy at the outer surface. This heat causes the air just below the fabric to rise, and because the weave is loose, this movement of air creates a convection current. A constant, gentle breeze is pulled through the tent from the cooler air near the ground. So, paradoxically, the black color actually helps to create its own cooling system. The debate among scholars is whether this was a result of deliberate scientific observation or a happy accident of using the most readily available material dog, cat. Either way, it worked. As you help hoist the folded tent onto the back of a grumbling camel, you feel its weight. It's the weight of your family, your security. While the tent is being packed, others are dealing with the fire. The community fire is never just abandoned. The remaining embers are carefully separated. A portion is extinguished completely with sand, ensuring no stray spark can cause a fire. The rest, the most robust and glowing coals, are carefully scooped into a special metal or clay container with a lid. This is a fire pot, a way of carrying a live piece of the fire with you. It saves immense time and effort when setting up the next camp. You don't need to start a fire from scratch with friction. You simply open the pot, add some kindling, and blow the embers back to life. The kitchen items, the coffee pot, the mortar and pestle, a few cooking pots, and water skins are the last to be packed. The diola is carefully wrapped in cloth to protect its delicate spout. The water skins, made of goat skin, are topped up if you're at a well, or carefully conserved if you're not. Their positioning on the camel is critical, kept in the shadiest spot possible to keep the water from heating up too much under the sun. Within what feels like an impossibly short amount of time, the spot where your small village stood is now just empty sand. The only evidence you were ever there are the footprints, the darkened patch of sand where the fire was, and the faint, lingering scent of coffee and wood smoke. You look at the packed and ready camels, each one a walking repository of everything you need to survive. The transformation is complete. You are no longer settlers. You are travelers once more. Now that the camp is packed and the camels are loaded, it's time for you to turn your attention to the very reason for this journey. It's time to inspect your wealth, your purpose, the fragrant cargo that justifies these long, hard days in the sun. You walk over to a camel that is more heavily guarded than the others, one that stays closer to you at all times. On its back are not the bulky tents or mundane cooking pots, but several smaller, stronger, iron-minus banded wooden chests. You signal to one of your younger cousins to help you. Together, you carefully unlash one of the chests and lower it to the ground. The morning air is still cool, but you know that in a few hours, the sun will be a merciless hammer. This inspection must be done now. You produce a heavy iron key from a pouch tied around your waist and unlock the chest. As you lift the lid, the air changes. A scent, ancient and sacred, spills out and perfumes the space around you. It's a complex fragrance resinous, slightly citrusy, with deep, earthy undertones. It's the smell of frankincense. Inside the chest, nestled in soft, dry grass to prevent them from rubbing against each other, are lumps of resin. They are not uniform. They range in color from a milky white with a tinge of green, to a pale amber, to a darker, brownish minus yellow. These are frankincense tears, the dried sap bled from the Boswellia sacra tree, which grows only in the remote, arid valleys of southern Arabia. You reach in and pick up one of the finest pieces. It's a low, pearly minus white tear, cool and smooth to the touch. This is the highest grade, known as hojari. It will fetch the highest price in the markets of Petra or Gaza. You don't just look at it, you assess it with all your senses. You rub it between your thumb and forefinger. It leaves a slightly sticky, powdery residue. You bring it to your nose and inhale deeply. The scent is powerful, clean, and piney, a fragrance said to please the gods. You might even break off a tiny piece and place it in your mouth. High minus quality frankincense is a bitter, astringent taste and will make your saliva tingle. This is a quick field test for purity. Why was this lumpy, fragrant resin so valuable? For a time, it was worth more than its weight in gold. In the temples of Egypt, the courts of Babylon, and the altars of Rome, frankincense was the smell of divinity. It was burned during religious ceremonies to carry prayers up to the heavens on its fragrant smoke. It was used in medicine as an anti-minus inflammatory and antiseptic agent. Roman nobles used it as a perfume to mask the stench of the city. It was, in essence, a luxury, a medicine, and a direct line to the gods, all rolled into one. Your chest is not full of rocks. It's full of solidified prayer. In another compartment of the chest, There is another treasure myrrh. The lumps of myrrh are darker, a reddish minus brown, and their scent is sharper, more bitter and medicinal than the frankincense. Myrrh was the scent of the mortal world, of preservation and healing. There was a key ingredient in Egyptian embalming rituals, used to perfume the wrappings of mummies. It was a powerful antiseptic, used to clean wounds and prevent infection, a crucial function in a world without antibiotics. Historians often speak of the perfume roads or incense routes, and you are a key player on this ancient network. The very existence of sprawling empires was fueled, in part, by their insatiable demand for these fragrant gums from this remote corner of the world. There's a fascinating, and often debated, aspect of the incense trade its secrecy. For centuries, the traders of southern Arabia, the kingdoms of Saba and Hadrat maintained a tight monopoly. They spread wild stories to deter competitors, tales of flying serpents and fierce demons guarding the frankincense trees. They kept the exact locations of the groves a closely guarded secret. Did they truly believe these stories? Or was it a brilliant, coordinated campaign of misinformation to protect their economic interests? The line between genuine folklore and clever marketing was, as with many things in the ancient world, incredibly blurry. You carefully check each compartment, ensuring the padding is sufficient, and the different grades of resin are not mixed. You look for any signs of dampness or crumbling, which could diminish the value. Everything appears to be in order. Your cargo is secure. You close the heavy lid. The sound is satisfying thud. The lock kicks shut. As you and your cousin hoist the chest back onto the camel and secure the ropes, you feel a familiar mix of pride and anxiety. This chest contains your family's future. It holds the promise of new tools, better weapons, fine cloth, and food for the year to come, but it also makes you a target. Every mile you travel is a mile of risk. With the inspection complete, you give your camel a final, reassuring pat. The sun is now fully clear of the horizon, casting long, sharp shadows across the sand. The time for stillness is over. It's time to move. With the cargo secure and the camp erased from the landscape, the moment of departure arrives. Khalid, the elder, moves to the front of the now organized line of camels. There is no loud pronouncement, no starting pistol. He simply gives a low, guttural call, a sound that is half minus word, half minus melody, and urges his led camel to rise. The animal groans in protest, a sound like a rusty door hinge, and then unfolds itself in a series of awkward, jerky movements. First, it pushes up on its hind legs, pitching its rider forward, and then it straightens its front legs, lurching them backward. You've done this 1,000 times, but it still takes a conscious effort to sway with the motion rather than fight it. One by one, the other camels in the caravan rise, a ripple of groans and lurching motions passing down the line. Soon, your entire small caravan is standing, a string of dark figures silhouetted against the brilliant morning sky. You adjust your position atop Efakir, settling into the well-worn leather of the saddle. From this vantage point, about 6 feet off the ground, the world looks different. You can see farther, and the gentle, swaying gait of the camel creates a unique, hypnotic rhythm. Now comes one of the most critical decisions of the day, choosing the route. You don't pull out a map or a compass. You look at the sun. It's your clock and your guide. Its position in the sky, the angle of its ascent, these tell you the time and the cardinal directions. But the sun is only the most obvious tool. You look at the ground, at the dunes themselves. You know that the prevailing winds sculpt the sand into predictable patterns. The long, gentle slope of a dune faces the wind, while the steep, curved side, the slope face, is on the leeward side. By reading these massive, flowing shapes, you can maintain a remarkably consistent heading. It's a form of macro-minus navigation, reading the language of the landscape itself. Khalid points towards a gap between two distant, hazy mesas. That will be your general direction for the morning. The caravan begins to move. The only sounds are the soft, rhythmic padding of the camel's feet on the sand, a sound like a muffled drum and the creak of leather saddles and drigging. No one speaks. The morning hours are for walking, for conserving energy, for falling into the meditative rhythm of the journey. You pull the loose cloth of your head covering, the kefir, across the lower half of your face. It protects you from the sun and, more importantly, from the fine wind minus blows, and that gets into everything. Your eyes, shielded by the cloth and your heavy brow, are constantly scanning. You are not just looking ahead, you are looking everywhere. You're watching the horizon for the tail shimmer of a distant and storm. You're watching the ground for changes in texture that might signal a patch of dangerously soft sand. You're watching the sky for the circling of vultures, which could indicate a carcass and, therefore, a source of potential danger or a failed traveler. The mental state required for this is a unique kind of focus. It's not the intense, narrow focus of a craftsman at his bench, but a wide, panoramic awareness. You are simultaneously relaxed and hyper-vigilant. Your mind is quiet, but your senses are on high alert. This state is something many contemplative traditions try to achieve through meditation. For you, it's not a spiritual exercise. It's a job requirement. Scholars who study cognitive history sometimes wonder if this way of life produced a different kind of mind, one that was less prone to distraction and more attuned to subtle environmental cues, a desert mind. Whether this is a product of genetics or simply intense training from birth is a question that remains unanswered. Here's a quirky bit of desert travel lore. The fear of getting lost was so profound that some Bedouin traditions involved a form of sand magic. Before a particularly difficult or unknown stretch of desert, a trader might take a handful of sand from his home territory and tie it in a small pouch. The belief was that this sand retained a memory of its home and, if consulted, could help guide a lost traveler back. Was it a genuine supernatural belief, or a psychological comfort, a placebo to calm the nerve? For the person holding the pouch, the distinction probably didn't matter. You find yourself swaying with her steady gait, your thoughts drifting. You think of the stories your father told you, of the jinn that live in the empty places, and of the lost city of iron, the Atlantis of the sands, swallowed by the desert as punishment for its pride. These stories are more than entertainment. They are mnemonic devices, cautionary tales that encode geographical knowledge and survival lessons. The tale of a jinn haunting a particular canyon is also a warning that the canyon is prone to flash floods. The sun climbs higher. The air begins to warm. The journey for the day has truly begun. You are a tiny ship sailing on a vast, silent ocean of sand, guided by the sun, the wind, and the stories in your head. You settle into the rhythm of the march, a rhythm that will dominate the next several hours of your life. The gentle, rolling sway of the camel becomes as natural as breathing. Your body, accustomed to this motion, moves with it, conserving energy. Your mind, freed from the need for conversation or complex tasks, enters a state that is both idle and alert. This is the great, moving silence of the desert morning. The landscape around you is a masterpiece of minimalism. It's a study in shades of beige, ochre, and pale gold. The dunes are not static. They are liquid, frozen in the moment. Their crests are sharp lines drawn against the impossibly blue sky. The sheer scale of it all is hard to comprehend. A rock formation that looks like it's just a short walk away might be half a day's journey. This distortion of distance is one of the first and most dangerous lessons a novice must learn. Your thoughts, unbidden, drift into this quiet space. This is a time for memory and for planning. You mentally rehearse the next few stages of your trade. Who is the merchant you hope to meet in Petra? What are the current prices for the best Hojari frankincense? You remember a deal from 2 years ago where you traded a chest of myrrh for a set of fine steel knife blades from a Nabatean smith. You recall the man's face, the way he tested the resin by burning a small piece on a coal and sniffing the smoke like a connoisseur of fine wine. These memories are your business ledger, your market analysis, all stored in your head. You also think of your family back at your home oasis. You picture your wife's face, your youngest son who is just learning to walk. The desire to provide for them is the fuel that drives you across this empty quarter. It gives the hardship a purpose. This is a cold, hard fact of your existence. The wealth of the desert is not in the sand, but in the connections you maintain across it, both commercial and familial. As you ride, you are not idle. Your hands are busy. From a leather pouch, you pull out a length of rope that has started to fray. Using a sharp knife and a spool of tough, waxed thread, you begin to repair it. This is the nature of desert life, constant, low-level maintenance. You fix things before they break. A broken rope at the wrong moment could mean a lost water skin, a far more serious problem than a lost chest of incense. Your hands move with a practiced, unthinking skill. The simple, repetitive task occupies a part of your mind, allowing the rest of it to remain soft and observant. Here is a small, often overlooked detail of desert travel: the importance of song. After an hour or two of silent riding, one of the men, usually one of the younger ones, might begin to sing. It's not a boisterous Davin song. It's a huda, a camel miner's driving song. The melodies are simple, repetitive, and the rhythm is specifically designed to match the footfalls of the camels. It's a strange, nasal, chanting sound that carries incredibly far in the dry air. For centuries, travelers have sworn that these songs have a tangible effect on the camels, making them walk more steadily and with more endurance. Is this true? Ethnomusicologists and animal behaviorists have debated this. Some argue the rhythmic sound is calming for the animals, a predictable audio cue in a silent world. Others suggest it's more for the benefit of the riders, a way to combat the hypnotic sleep-minus inducing monotony of the landscape and to create a sense of shared purpose. For you, listening to the lonely, echoing song, it feels like both are true. The camel's pace seems to regulate, and your own spirits are lifted. The song rises and falls, telling tales of brave warriors, beautiful women, legendary camels, and tragic love affairs. Like the stories of the jinn, these songs are another form of myth, another library of oral history and culture. They bind the small group of travelers together, reminding you that you are part of a long, unbroken chain of people who have sung these same songs in this same landscape for generations. You finish your rope repair, coiling it neatly and tucking it away. You take a sip of water from your personal water skin. It's already lukewarm, and you drink only a small amount, swishing it in your mouth before swallowing. Water discipline is the first and last rule of the desert. You look up at the sun. It's climbing higher, its light becoming whiter, more intense. The soft, golden light of morning is giving way to the harsh, vertical glare of midday. The shadows are shrinking. The silence is no longer peaceful. It's becoming heavy, thick with heat. The easy part of the day is over. The test is about to begin. The sun, which was your friendly guide in the morning, has now become your adversary. It's no longer angled in the sky. It feels as if it's directly overhead, a white minus, hot eye staring down with relentless intensity. The heat is no longer a gentle one. It's a physical presence, a heavy blanket that smothers the air and drains your will. The colors of the desert have been bleached out. The rich ochre-crescent golds of the morning have flattened into a uniform, shimmering glare. This is the time of the sharky, the hot wind from the east. It's not a cooling breeze but a blast from a furnace, picking up the fine sand and lashing it against your exposed skin. You pull your kef, yet tighter, leaving only a narrow slit for your eyes. Every breath you take is hot and dusty. And then, you start to see things, far in the distance, where the shimmering air meets the sand. A beautiful, impossible lake appears. Its surface seems to ripple, and the hazy reflections of the distant mesas tremble in its waters. You can almost feel the coolness. Taste the life-saving water. Your heart gives a hopeful leap before your mind takes control. It's a mirage, a hesoro. It's a cruel trick of the light. An illusion created by the bending of light rays through layers of air at different temperatures. You know this. You have seen it 1,000 times. And yet, for a fleeting second, the thirsty part of your brain believed it. This is the danger of midday. It attacks not just your body, but your mind. The ability to distinguish between reality and delusion is a critical survival skill. The annals of desert exploration are filled with tragic stories of travelers who, delirious from heat and thirst, chase these phantom legs to their doom. Historians and neurologists have long been fascinated by the physiological and psychological effects of extreme heat. Is the mirage a purely optical phenomenon, or does the brain, under duress, become more susceptible to suggestion, more willing to see what it desperately wants to see? The consensus leans towards optics, but the experience feels deeply personal, a psychological taunt from the desert itself. Your camel, Fafatua, seems untroubled. Camels have an astonishing array of adaptations for this environment. Their long eyelashes and hairy ears keep out the sand. They can close their nostrils to slits for the same reason. Their body temperature can fluctuate dramatically, rising during the heat of the day to reduce the need for sweating, thus conserving precious water. They are biological marvels, perfectly engineered for this place. You, on the other hand, are not. You are a fragile creature of flesh and blood, surviving only through culture, knowledge, and sheer force of will. The hypnotic rhythm of the morning walk is gone. No, every sway of the camel feels like an effort. The heat makes you sluggish, your thoughts slow and sticky like honey. The world seems to shrink down to a few basic sensations: the burning sun, the stinging wind, the creak of the saddle, the nagging feeling of thirst. This is a time of extreme mental discipline. You must actively fight the lethargy. You focus on your breathing, slow and steady. You scan the horizon, not out of habit, but with conscious effort. You recite verses of poetry or prayer in your head. Anything to keep your mind from succumbing to the heat-dazed stupor that can lead to fatal mistakes. Here's a curious, little-known technique for managing heat that your father taught you. You reach into a small pouch and pull out a smooth, flat, white stone. You place it in your mouth, under your tongue. The stone, cool from being in the shade of the pouch, stimulates the production of saliva. It's a simple trick, but it helps to combat the dry, cotton-mouth feeling of dehydration and reduces the psychological panic of thirst. It doesn't provide any actual hydration, of course, but it makes the journey through the hottest part of the day more bearable. It's a small act of self-care, a way of tricking your own body into feeling better. Collie, riding at the front, raises his hand. The signal is clear. The caravan slows to a halt. He is pointing towards a dark slash at the base of a distant cliff face. It's not a mirage. It's a shadow, a promise of shelter. It's time to stop. It's madness to keep moving through the peak heat. The camels, seeming to understand the signal, groan with what sounds like relief. The journey is not over, but the worst of the day's trial by fire is about to be paused. The simple prospect of shade is, at this moment, more alluring than any treasure chest of gold. The caravan moves with a renewed, if sluggish, sense of purpose towards the sliver of shadow. It's a slow, final push. The last few hundred yards feel longer than the entire morning's trek. The sand underfoot is so hot you can feel the heat radiating up through the soles of your sandals when you eventually dismount. The shelter is not much. It's the overhang of a large sandstone rock formation, weathered by millennia of wind into a smooth, curving hollow. But after the relentless, vertical glare of the sun, stepping into its shade is like stepping into another world. The temperature drops by a noticeable 20 degrees. The light is soft and diffused. You close your eyes for a moment, just to savor the relief from the oppressive brightness. Your whole body seems to sigh in gratitude. Your first thought, as always, is for your camel. You and the other men guide the animals into the shoddiest part of the hollow and command them to kneel. With practiced hands, you begin to unfasten the ropes holding the heaviest cargo. You don't unload everything, but you take off the densest chests like your precious frankincense and place them on the ground. This gives the animals back so much needed rest. A camel with a sore back is a liability you cannot afford. You check their feet again for any burns from the hots and murmur soothing words. Only after the camels are settled do you attend to yourselves. You find a spot against the cool rock wall and slide down to a sitting position. The stone against your back feels incredible, leaching the heat out of your body. For a few minutes, no one speaks. You are all just breathing, recovering, letting the profound contrast between sun and shade wash over you. Then, one of the younger men, Chemo is tasked with the midday meal. He opens a sack and pulls out the provisions. The meal is, by necessity, simple and light. Heavy food would be a burden on your system in this heat. He lays out a cloth on the sand and places on it a pile of dates, a handful of dried figs, and a small, hard we-love cheese made from goat's milk. He also unwraps a stack of flatbread, baked days ago and now dry and hard as a rock. Water is brought out, drawn from one of the large goats, King Gerbeas. The water is unpleasantly warm, with a faint taste of leather, but it is the most delicious thing you have ever tasted. You drink slowly, deliberately, making sure not to gulp it down too fast. Your body needs time to absorb it. You take a piece of the hard bread and dip it into the water to soften it, a common practice that makes the stale bread edible and ensures you are consuming both food and water together. You eat a few dates. They're intense, sugary sweetness providing a quick burst of energy. The cheese is salty, which helps to replace the salts you've lost through sweating. This simple meal is a perfect example of desert nutritional science, refined over generations. It's high in energy, portable, non-perishable, and contains the electrolytes your body craves. While a Roman merchant might be feasting on roasted dormice and wine, your humble meal is far better suited to your current environment. As you eat, you notice something interesting. The rock face behind you is covered in carvings. They are faint and withered, but unmistakable. There are stylized drawings of camels, ostriches, and ibex with impossibly long, curved horns. There are also inscriptions in ancient scripts, some of which you can vaguely recognize as early forms of Arabic or Nabatean. This rock has been a rest stop for a very long time. For how many centuries have travelers paused in this exact spot, sheltering from this same sun, looking at these same drawings? This is a question archaeologists and epigraphists constantly grapple with when they find such sites. Are these carvings just ancient graffiti, a way for a bored traveler to pass the time? Or do they serve a more practical purpose, marking a safe haven, indicating a nearby water source, or even acting as a prayer for a safe journey? Looking at a particularly elegant carving of a camel, you feel it's all of the above. It's a message to the future, a simple declaration: I was here, I survived. You finish your meal and lean back against the rock. The heat outside the shadow is still immense, creating a visible, shimmering curtain. The camp is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet from the pre-dawn hush. It's a heavy, sleepy quiet. Some of the men are already dozing, their heads lolling on their chests. A short nap during the peak heat is not laziness. It's a crucial energy conservation strategy. It's another forgotten routine, a natural siesta dictated by the sun, not the clock. You close your eyes, not intending to sleep, but just to rest. The image of the ancient camel carving lingers in your mind. You are just one more traveler pausing for a moment in a long, unbroken procession. The shade of the rock overhang is a pocket of shared stillness. The pressing need for vigilance relaxes its grip, just for a little while. With the immediate concerns of heat and thirst addressed, a space opens up for another essential ritual of the caravan: the exchange of information. You don't doze off like some of the younger men. Instead, you shift slightly to sit closer to Culloden, another seasoned trader, a man named Omar. The conversation starts slowly, in low, unhurried tones. It's not idle gossip. It's a vital part of your profession. This is your living newspaper, your intelligence network, your stock market report. The wells at Tamar were lower than I have ever seen them, Omar says, chewing thoughtfully on a dried fig. The Boni Hylul tribe are grazing their herds farther north than usual because of it. This is critical information. It means the usual route might be strained for water, and potential friction with another tribe over scarce resources is a real possibility. You file this away in your mental map. Khalid nods, his weathered face impassive. The governor in Gaza has raised the tax on dyed cloth again. My cousin sent word with a northbound caravan 2 moons ago. This, too, is valuable. It might affect what goods you seek to trade for on the return journey. The conversation weaves and wanders, a tapestry of practical data. You talk about the health of camel herds, the shifting alliances between minor tribes, the trustworthiness of certain merchants in the far-off cities. You discuss rumors of a new Roman legion being posted near the frontier, which could mean more security on the roads, but also more scrutiny and unofficial tolls. Much of what is said is layered with ambiguity. This is where the art of the trader comes in. You have to read between the lines to understand the subtext. When Omar mentions a certain lesser-known tribe has found good fortune, it might be a euphemism for them having successfully raided a caravan. His slight hesitation tells you more than his words. The historical record is full of formal treaties and grand political histories, but this is the real texture of life, the unwritten, ever-minus changing social and economic landscape that you must navigate. Historians who study oral cultures face a constant challenge. How do you verify information that was never written down, that was intentionally veiled in nuance and anecdote? They must learn to interpret the silences and the euphemisms, just as you are doing now. You, in turn, share what you know. You tell them about the market from where in the south, how the demand from Egyptian Bammarul seems to be steady, unaffected by the political winds. You share a technique you learned for treating a camel's saddle sores using a poultice of ground acacia seeds. This free exchange of information might seem counterintuitive for competing traders, but it's a cornerstone of survival. A well-informed caravan is a safe caravan. The desert is a powerful enough adversary. There is no need to hoard information that could benefit everyone. This cooperative spirit, this is a BIYO or group solidarity, was the glue that held Bedouin society together. At some point, the talk shifts from the practical to the poetic. Khalid, a renowned storyteller, begins to recount a legend. He tells the story of Hatem al-Stoy, a pre-Islamic poet and chieftain famous for his legendary generosity. He speaks of how Hatem once slaughtered his last and most prized horse to feed a stranger who arrived at his tent on a cold night, not even knowing his guest was a Byzantine emissary. The story is famous, and you have heard it many times, but listening to it here, in the shimmering heat, it takes on new meaning. It's not just a children's tale, it's a moral compass. It's a reinforcement of the very code of hospitality that governs your lives. Here's a curious tidbit about this oral culture. Poetry was not just art, it was power. A skilled poet was as revered as a great warrior. A poem of praise could elevate a tribe's status, while a satirical poem, the Haidjur, could be a devastating weapon, ruining a rival's reputation more effectively than any sword. These poems, memorized and passed down, were the primary medium for history, law, and social commentary. A man's honor could be built or shattered by a few well-chosen lines of verse. The story ends. A comfortable silence falls over your small group. The sun has passed its zenith and is beginning its slow descent in the west. The shadows are starting to lengthen again. The worst of the heat is over. The rest has restored you. The information and stories have sharpened your mind and reinforced your spirit. Khalid clears his throat and looks at the sun. He doesn't need a watch to know it is time. The midday pause, a tradition born of necessity and filled with the substance of your culture, is drawing to a close. It's time to reload the camels and resume the journey. The signal to move isn't spoken. It's a collective shift in posture, a shared sense that the window of rest is closing. You rise, stretching the stiffness from your limbs. The air is still hot, but it has lost its suffocating, malevolent edge. The journey can resume. You and the others move back to the camels, who seem to sense the change as well, some of them letting out low groans, as if in anticipation of the work to come. As you are fastening the ropes on your chests of frankincense, you see it, in the distance, to the west. A dark line is moving against the shimmering horizon. It's another caravan. Your hand instinctively goes to the hilt of the dagger tucked into your belt. Every encounter in the desert is a moment of high alert. Is it a friendly trade caravan, a rival clan, or worse, a raiding party? Khalid has seen them too. He squints, his eyes shielded by his hand, his face a mask of concentration. The entire camp has gone silent, all activity frozen. The soft sounds of conversation and preparation are replaced by a tense, watchful stillness. They are small, Khalid says, his voice slow and calm. No more than a dozen camels. They fly no banner. This last part is both reassuring and unsettling. A raiding party would likely be larger, but a banner would have identified their tribe, signaling their intentions more clearly. You stand and watch as the distant figures grow slowly larger. You can begin to make out individual shapes, the loping gait of the camels, the dark forms of the riders. There is a strict, unwritten protocol for this situation, a desert dance of mutual assessment. You do not ride out to meet them. You do not show aggression. You wait. Your caravan instinctively draws a little closer together, the camels forming a loose, protective circle around the women and the most valuable goods. As they draw nearer, you see that they are traders like you. Their camels are heavily laden with bulky, cloth-minus wrapped bundles. They have slowed their pace, and their leader, like Khalid, has moved to the front. They are mirroring your cautious posture. This is a good sign. It shows they understand and respect the rules of engagement. When they are about 100 yards away, they stop. Their leader dismounts. Khalid does the same. This is the crucial moment. The two men begin to walk towards each other, alone, into the open space between the two caravans. Their hands are empty and held open, visible to all. It's an ancient gesture of peace. They meet in the middle, a respectful distance between them. The traditional greetings are exchanged. As minus salam alaikum, peace be upon you. Well, like the US minus salam, and upon you, peace. Even from this distance, you can see the formal, almost ritualistic nature of their conversation. They will be inquiring about each other's tribe, their destination, their point of origin. They are establishing credentials, mapping each other onto the complex social network of the desert. There is a historical debate about the exact nature of these encounters. Were they always this formal and peaceful, or is our understanding colored by the romanticized accounts of later poets? The archaeological record shows evidence of fortified wells and lookout posts, suggesting that violent conflict was a constant threat. However, the sheer necessity of trade and the shared danger of the environment likely made cooperation and established protocols the more common scenario. A reputation for treachery would travel fast on the caravan routes, making future trade impossible. Your life depended on your word and your adherence to the code. After several minutes of conversation, Khalid turns and gestures for you to relax. A collective, quiet sigh of relief passes through your group. The other caravan is from an old, friendly clan. They are traveling north from the frankincense lands, their camels laden not with spices, but with something almost as valuable, salt, mined from the great salt flats far to the south. Their leader walks back to his caravan, and a moment later, he returns to Khalid with a small block of salt as a gift. Khalid, in turn, sends one of the younger men back to your camp to fetch a handful of high-minus quality dates. This exchange of symbolic gifts seals the peaceful nature of the encounter. It's a classic example of what anthropologists call gift economy, where the social bond created by the exchange is more important than the material value of the items themselves. The two groups will not merge. You will continue on your separate paths after this brief pause. But for a few more minutes, men from both caravans walk out and mingle in the open space, exchanging news and pleasantries. You learn from one of their traders that a spring you had planned to visit in today's time has run dry. This is priceless information, and you immediately begin recalculating your route. In return, you share Omar's news about the wells at Tamar. This brief, tense encounter has transformed into an invaluable opportunity. It's a reminder that, in the desert, another person is not just a potential threat, but also a potential source of life-saving knowledge. The meeting with the salt caravan concludes as formally as it began, with final blessings for a safe journey. The two groups part ways, your own caravan continuing its westward trek as the other turns slightly, heading north. The brief interaction has left a subtle change in the air. The loneliness of the vast expanse has been momentarily broken, and the fresh injection of news gives you all much to ponder. The knowledge that the spring ahead is dry is a serious concern, forcing an immediate revision of your plans. You fall into line beside Khalid, and a low, serious discussion begins. The dry spring is at buried J. Cohen states, more to himself than to you. We cannot reach the next known well before nightfall if we continue on this path. Your mental map, which had been so clear this morning, is now being hastily redrawn. This is a common occurrence, and the ability to adapt is paramount. Collard points to a series of low, weathered hills to the northwest. We muster. There is a place my father called the Hidden Canyon. He said water sometimes gathers there after the winter rains. It is a risk, but it is a better risk than a dry well. The decision is made. The caravan pivots, changing its heading. You are now venturing off the main, established route, onto a path guided by a generation minus old memory. This reliance on inherited knowledge, on stories and place names passed down from father to son, is a hallmark of your culture. These are not just charming folk tales. They are a database of survival information. As you ride, you begin to pay even closer attention to the ground. You are no longer just looking for the general lay of the land. You are reading the specifics, the fine print of the desert. You notice a set of tracks, delicate and small, with a distinctive to minus stowed print. A gazelle. This is a good sign. Gazelles rarely stray too far from a water source. A little later, you spot the unmistakable tracks of a fennec fox, its oversized paw prints looking comical for such a small animal. This skill, known as Alpha, the art of tracking and reading signs in the sand, is a science in its own right. A skilled tracker can tell not just what animal passed by, but when it passed, whether it was moving in a hurry, and even if it was healthy or injured. You look at the edges of the gazelle tracks. They are still sharp, not yet softened by the wind. The animal passed this way recently, within the last hour. Your hope for finding water in Colordo's Hidden Canyon grows a little stronger. Here's a fascinating, almost unbelievable detail about this art. The most legendary trackers were said to be able to read human footprints with astonishing accuracy. They claimed they could identify a person's tribe, their age, and even their mood, just from the impression they left in the sand. A man walking with a heavy heart, they said, leaves a deeper, more sorrowful print. How much of this is hyperbole and how much is based on subtle, observable cues is a subject of endless debate for historians and anthropologists. Is it a lost science of observation, or is it a mythology created around a very practical skill? As you look at the sand, a blank page to move, but a rich text to you. You believe it's a bit of both. The terrain begins to change. The endless, rolling dunes give way to a harder, gravelly plain strewn with dull, sun-minus baked rocks. This is more difficult terrain for the camels, and your pace slows. You must pick your way carefully to avoid sharp stones that could injure their precious feet. Suddenly, you see a different kind of sign. It's not an animal track. It's the remains of a campfire. A small circle of blackened stones. You dismount to inspect it more closely. The ashes are cold, but not ancient. You crumble a piece of charcoal between your fingers. It turns to find us. This fire is at least a few days old. Near the fire pit, you find a broken piece of pottery, reddish minus brown, with a simple black painted line along the rim. It's not from your tribe, nor is it from the salt traders you just met. The style is unfamiliar. This is a puzzle. Who was here? Were they merely travelers, or did they have some other purpose? A single piece of broken pottery can tell a complex story to a trained eye. It speaks of trade routes, cultural influences, and the movement of peoples. For archaeologists, a pot's herd is a golden clue, a durable piece of the past that can help reconstruct entire networks of human interaction. For you, it is a more immediate and unsettling question mark. It's a reminder that you are never truly alone in the desert. The landscape holds the quiet echoes of everyone who has passed before. You pocket the small shard, a mystery to ponder later. The hidden canyon, and the water it may or may not hold, is waiting. You've been riding towards the low hills for over an hour. The sun is now beginning its serious descent towards the western horizon, painting the sky in strokes of orange and pink. The air is cooling rapidly, the desert's dramatic temperature swing beginning in earnest. The urgency to find shelter and water before dark is a palpable pressure. Then, you smell it. It's not a strong scent, nothing like the frankincense in your chests. It's faint, elusive, carried on the evening breeze. It's a whisper of a smell, but it's unmistakable to a desert nose. It's the scent of damp earth and vegetation. It's the smell of light. Your head lifts. You see Khalid, at the front of the caravan. Do the same. He has smelled it too. Your camel, a fakir, seems to sense it as well. His pace quickens slightly, his nostrils flaring as he tastes the air. This ability to smell water from miles away is one of the most prized skills of a desert traveler, a sense honed by a lifetime of necessity. Scientists today might explain it by talking about humidity levels and airborne particles from plants. But for you, it feels like magic. It's a sixth sense, a direct line to the planet's most vital resource. The terrain is now decidedly rocky. You are entering a winding, narrow canyon, the hidden canyon from Khalid's memory. The walls of sandstone rise up on either side of you, their surfaces glowing a warm, reddish minus gold in the slanted light of the setting sun. The temperature here is noticeably cooler, the rock walls still holding the memory of the previous night's chill. The scent of life grows stronger. You can now distinguish individual notes within it. There is the green, slightly bitter smell of acacia trees and the tougher, more resilient scent of desert shrubs. Your eyes, scanning the canyon floor, spot the source. Ahead, stood in a bend of the canyon, is a small, miraculous patch of green. A dozen or so scraggly acacia trees and a thicket of hardy desert bushes are clinging to life. This is not a lush, Hollywood Miners-style oasis with a sparkling blue lagoon and waving palm trees. Those are rare and precious jewels. This is a more common and more realistic kind of oasis, a pocket of resilience. It's a place where the geology of the land conspires to trap and hold the scant rainfall, allowing a small ecosystem to survive against all odds. The debate among geologists and historians is how ancient traders consistently found these hidden, often unmarked, water sources. Was it purely through this kind of inherited, anecdotal knowledge, like Khalid's memory of his father's words, or did they have a more systematic understanding of the landscape, an intuitive grasp of geology that told them where water was likely to collect? Perhaps they read the subtle clues in the vegetation itself, knowing that a certain type of plant only grows where its roots can find subterranean moisture. As with so many aspects of your life, the answer is likely a complex blend of science and story. As you draw closer, you see the source of the water. It's not a gushing spring or a flowing stream. At the base of a high cliff face, nestled in a hollow of rock, is a small pool of water. It's no more than 20 feet across, its surface still and dark. It is a treasure more valuable than anything in your chests. There's a small, curious tradition associated with arriving at a water source like this, especially a hidden one. Before anyone, man or beast, rushes to drink, the elder Khalid, in this case, approaches the water alone. He kneels, and in a quiet voice, he greets the water and the spirits of the place. He gives thanks for its presence. It's a gesture of respect, a recognition that this life minus giving resource is a gift, not a given. Some scholars see this as simple animistic belief, while others interpret it as a clever bit of social engineering. By ritualizing the approach to water, it prevents a chaotic, potentially dangerous stampede of thirsty men and animals, ensuring a calm, orderly process of watering. Only after Khalid gives the signal do you approach. The camels, who have been patient until now, are whining with anticipation. Their need comes first. You lead them to the water's edge, letting them drink their fill. A thirsty camel can drink over 30 gallons of water in a matter of minutes. And you watch, gratified, as they rehydrate, their bodies visibly seeming to plump up. Tonight, they will rest well, and tomorrow, they will be strong. Finally, it is your turn. You kneel at the edge of the pool, cup your hands, and bring the cool, clear water to your lips. It tastes of stone on earth, the purest, most satisfying flavor in the world. You drink deeply, feeling the coolness spread through your body, washing away the dust and fatigue of the long day. In this moment, You are the richest man on earth. You have found the green, beating heart of the desert. The sun has now dipped below the canyon walls, and the world is bathed in a soft, purple twilight. The arrival at the oasis, even one as modest as this, marks a profound shift in the day's rhythm. The relentless forward motion is over. Now begins the ritual of creating a sanctuary for the night. This is your destination, not a city or a market, but simply this a safe place to stop. The first priority, as always, is the camels. After they have drunk their fill from the precious pool, you lead them to the grove of acacia trees. Their thirst is quenched, but now they need food. While dates and barley are good for energy on the move, here they can graze on the tough, thorny leaves of the acacias. You watch as Aphakia, with his surprisingly delicate lips, deftly plucks the leaves while avoiding the sharp thorns. This natural forage is crucial for their long-term health. While the camels graze, you and the other men begin the process of establishing your camp. You choose a spot on a flat, sandy patch a little distance from the water, a respectful distance that prevents you from contaminating the source. The location is chosen with care, sheltered from the wind by a rock outcropping, and with a good vantage point of the canyon entrance. The unloading process begins, a reverse of the morning's routine. The heavy chests of incense are placed on the ground. The cooking pots, water skins, and personal bags are piled neatly. Then comes the most important task, raising the home. The large, folded bundle of the black goat minus hair tent is laid out. The women, who had been resting, now take charge, with an economy of movement that speaks of a lifetime of practice. They unfold the heavy fabric. The poles are positioned, and with a coordinated effort, the tent is raised. Ropes are thrown, stakes are driven deep into the sandy soil, and within a remarkably short time, the familiar dark shape of your house of hair stands solid and reassuring in the fading light. Stepping inside the newly erected tent is a comforting feeling. It smells of home, of wool, wood smoke, and your family, even though you are hundreds of miles from your home oasis, in a canyon you've never been to before. This space is a constant. It is your portable territory, a bubble of the familiar in the vast, intimidating unknown. There's a fascinating, and often debated, aspect of Bedouin tent layout. The interior is almost always divided by a curtain called a gutter. One side is the women's domain, the emma, where the cooking is done and the children are cared for. The other side is the men's public area, the rubber, where guests are received and business is discussed. Is this division purely for reasons of privacy and modesty, as is commonly believed, or does it also serve a practical, psychological purpose? Some sociologists argue that this clear division of space helps to maintain social order and reduce friction in the close quarters of nomadic life. It creates personal space even when none physically exists. With the tent up, the next focus is the fire. Jamo, the young man from this morning, retrieves the fire pot that has traveled with you all day. He opens the lid, revealing the glowing embers nestled in a bed of ash. He gently tips them into the prepared fire pit and adds a few pieces of dry kindling he has gathered from beneath the acacia trees. He lies on his stomach and blows. A gentle, steady breath. The embers glow brighter. A spark catches, and with a soft whoosh, a small flame springs to life. The fire changes everything. It pushes back the gathering darkness and creates a pool of warmth and light that is a beacon of community. The nucleus around which the life of the camp will orbit for the next few hours. Its cheerful crackling is a comforting sound, a counterpoint to the immense silence of the canyon. The long, hard day of travel, of sun and sand and uncertainty, is over. You have arrived. You are safe. You are home for tonight. With the camels settled and the camp secure, the air fills with the sounds and smells of the evening meal. The fire, now burning brightly, is the center of this domestic universe. The women work near its glow, their movements efficient and graceful. Tonight's meal will be more substantial than the simple, dry fare of the midday stop. The presence of water and the security of the canyon allow for the luxury of a cooked dinner. The main course is a simple, hearty stew. A single large pot is placed on a tripod of stones over the fire. Into it goes a precious measure of water, followed by dried lentils, onions, and a handful of the hard, salty cheese, which will melt and give the stew a savory richness. A few pinches of spices are added, cumin and coriander from your own trade stock. The aroma begins to rise from the pot, a warm, savory cloud that feels like the very essence of comfort and home. While the stew simmers, another woman is preparing the bread. She mixes barley flour with water and a pinch of salt in a shallow wooden bowl, kneading it into a soft dough. She doesn't use yeast. This will be a simple flatbread. She expertly shapes the dough into flat, round discs. Now comes the ingenious part, a baking technique born of the desert. She doesn't have an oven. Instead, she rakes a section of the hot coals and ash to the side of the fire, creating a cleared, searingly hot patch of sand and embers. She lays the dough discs directly onto this hot surface. This is khubzl-jamura, or bread of the embers. The intense heat cooks the bread incredibly quickly. After a minute, she flips it with a stick, and a minute later, it's done. The outside is slightly charred and crispy, speckled with ash which is simply brushed off, and the inside is soft, steamy, and delicious. This method of cooking directly in the ashes and sand is ancient. Archaeologists have found evidence of similar techniques dating back thousands of years. It's a perfect example of using the environment itself as a tool. Why carry a heavy oven when the ground beneath your feet can do the job? There's an ongoing discussion among food historians about the flavor profile of this bread. Some argue that the minerals in the sand and the smokiness of the ashen part are unique, earthy flavor that cannot be replicated in a modern kitchen. It's a taste of the terroir, in the most literal sense. Finally, the stew is ready. You and the other men gather in a circle around a large, shallow communal dish. The stew is ladled into the center. The fresh, hot flatbreads are torn into pieces and used as your utensils. You scoop up the thick, fragrant stew with a piece of bread, a technique that is both practical and communal. Sharing food from a single dish is a powerful symbol of unity and trust. It reinforces the bonds of the group, reminding everyone that they are in this together. You eat in comfortable silence for a while. The only sounds the crackling of the fire and the soft murmurs of appreciation. The food is simple, but after a long day of travel, it tastes better than any feast. It's warm, nourishing, and replenishes the energy you've expended. It warms you from the inside out, a perfect antidote to the rapidly cooling night air. After the main meal, a special treat is brought out, a bowl of dates, but these are not the plain, dry dates you ate at midday. These have been slit open, the pits removed, and a dollop of clarified butter, or ghee, has been placed inside. The sweetness of the date combined with the rich, nutty flavor of the ghee is an explosion of flavor and calories, a perfect desert dessert. It's a simple luxury, a small moment of indulgence that makes the hardship of the journey worthwhile. As the meal winds down, the conversation begins to flow, soft and relaxed. The tensions of the day have melted away, replaced by the contentment of a full belly and a safe haven. You lean back on your saddle, which now serves as a comfortable backrest, and look up. The sky is now a deep, pure black, and the stars are beginning to emerge in their full, breathtaking glory. The day's final rituals are complete. The body has been nourished. Now, it is time for the soul. The last of the embers from the cooking fire have been pushed into a neat pile. The eating dishes are cleaned with sand and packed away. A profound quiet descends upon the canyon, deeper and more resonant than the silence of the midday heat. This is the time for the day's final spiritual observance, the Isha, or night prayer. Just as you did in the pre-minus dawn darkness, you move a short distance away from the main camp. Others join you, finding their own quiet spots on the sand. The ritual is a mirror image of the mornings, a bookend to the day. You perform the dry ablution with the cool nights, and the motions familiar and grounding. Then, you turn towards Mecca. Your internal compass is steady in the darkness as it was in the light. As you move through the sequence of prayers, the standing, the bowing, the prostration with your forehead touching the cool, solid earth, the day's events unspool in your mind. But now, they are different. The anxiety of the unknown path, the tension of meeting the other caravan, the gnawing worry of the dry spring, all these sharp, minus-edged concerns are softened. Put into perspective, the prayer is not about asking for things. It's about gratitude and alignment. You give thanks for the shade of the rock, for the unexpected news from the soul traders, for the memory that leads you to this hidden canyon. You give thanks for the water, for the food, for the safety of your companions and your animals. This act of evening gratitude is a powerful psychological tool. Neuroscientists today have shown that practicing gratitude can actively rewire the brain, reducing stress and increasing feelings of well-being. For you, it is not a scientific exercise. It is an act of faith. It's a way of closing the day's ledger, acknowledging the hardships but choosing to focus on the blessings. It reframes the narrative of your day from one of survival to one of provision. The question of how much ancient religious practices were intertwined with mental and physical well-being is a fascinating area of scholarly research. Were these rituals developed with an intuitive understanding of their calming, centering effects, or are these benefits simply a happy byproduct of devotion? Many historians of religion and medicine argue that for most of human history, the two were inseparable. A healthy spirit was considered essential for a healthy body, and rituals like this were medicine for the soul. This nightly communion with the stars is another forgotten routine. In your world, the night sky is not just a beautiful view, it is your calendar, your map, and your storybook. You can trace the path of the scorpion, its tail curving towards the horizon. You can find the bright, steady pole star that gives you true north. You watch the slow, majestic wheeling of the cosmos and are filled with a sense of profound awe and humility. It connects you to something vast, ancient, and eternal. It makes your own worries and ambitions feel very small. And in that smallness, there is a strange and wonderful peace. You finally rise and walk back to the campfire, where the others are gathering once more. The mood is different now. It's softer, more contemplative. The boisterous energy of the post-miners dinner conversation has given way to a quiet fellowship. The day has been bracketed by ritual, the preparation of the body and spirit at dawn, and the settling of the mind and soul at dusk. You have navigated the external landscape of the desert and the internal landscape of your own mind. You are cleansed, fed, and centered. The final preparations for sleep can now begin. You return to the circle of firelight, the immense, star-dusted darkness at your back. The campfire has burned down to a bed of glowing, reed-gold embers that pulse with a gentle, breathing light. The energetic crackle of the cooking fire has been replaced by a soft, hypnotic hiss. The mood around the fire is one of quiet companionship. The day's stories have been told, the news exchanged. Now is a time for shared silence. Khalid, the old man who seems to be the custodian of all the camp's rituals, reaches into a worn leather bag. He doesn't pull out the brass coffee pot this time. Instead, he retrieves a small, clay pot and a tightly bound cloth pouch. He unrolls the pouch, revealing several small compartments containing dried herbs and flowers. Even from where you use it, a faint, complex, and deeply calming fragrance drifts towards you. He places the clay pot near the embers to warm and pours in a careful amount of water from a nearby skin. While the water heats, he prepares the infusion. With his gnarled, steady fingers, he takes a pinch of dried, silvery-green leaves that you recognize as wild sage. He adds the delicate, papery flowers of chamomile and a few leaves of dried mint. He crushes them gently in the palm of his hand, not to a powder, but just enough to bruise them and awaken their essential oils. The scent that rises is the smell of deep rest itself, earthy, slightly sweet, and profoundly soothing. He tips the herbs into the warming water and adds one final, precious ingredient, a small spoonful of honey, thick and dark, which he dissolves with a stick. He leaves the pot to steep, not to boil. The steam that begins to rise is not just water vapor, it's part of the medicine. You are encouraged to lean closer and inhale it. This practice, a form of primitive aromatherapy, was as important as the drink itself. The belief was that the body absorbed the calming essence of the plants through the breath as well as the tongue. This simple act is a window into the world of ancient medicine. Long before laboratories and pharmacies, healthcare was rooted in the earth. Knowledge of plants which once could heal a wound, soothe a fever, or calm a troubled mind was one of the most vital forms of wisdom. This knowledge was rarely written down, passed instead from elder to child, a living library of folk pharmacology. Historians and pharmacologists still debate the true medicinal effectiveness of these ancient brews. Were they pharmacologically active, containing chemical compounds like AP, Igen and chamomile that genuinely induced relaxation and drowsiness? Or was their power primarily psychosomatic, a powerful placebo effect amplified by the ritual, the warmth of the fire, the trust in the elder, and the shared, quiet experience of the girl? For you, sitting here, feeling the day's tension melt away as you watch the steam rise, the distinction is meaningless. It works. When the tea is ready, Khalid serves it in the same small, handle-less cups used for the coffee. The liquid is a pale, golden color. You hold the cup in both hands, feeling its warmth seep into your palms. You bring it to your lips and sip. The flavor is gentle and complex. The earthy, slightly bitter taste of the sage is balanced by the apple-minus-like sweetness of the chamomile and brightened by the clean note of mint. The honey rounds it all out, leaving a soothing, pleasant sweetness on your tongue. It tastes nothing like the sharp, stimulating jolt of the morning's coffee. If the coffee was a command to awaken, this tea is a gentle invitation to rest. This is not a drink. It is a potion against the anxieties of the journey, against the lingering adrenaline of the day, against the temptation to let your mind race with tomorrow's worries. You drink it slowly, savoring each sip. With each swallow, you feel a wave of warmth spread through your chest and out to your limbs. Your shoulders, which you didn't even realize were tense, begin to drop. The muscles in your back, tight from the long hours in the saddle, begin to unclench. It's a signal to every part of you that the day is well and truly over. The time for doing is done. The time for being, and soon, for dreaming, is here. You finish the last of the herbal tea, the warmth of the cup lingering in your hands. You set the small cup down, and the simple action feels like the final punctuation mark on the day. The world has contracted, shrinking from the vast, sun-drenched expanse of the desert to this small, intimate circle of firelight and companionship. Leaning back against your saddle, you tip your head back and look up. The night sky is the true roof of your world tonight. The stars seem brighter now, more sharply defined against the velvet black. You are no longer navigating by them, no longer using them as a tool. You are simply observing, allowing their silent, ancient light to wash over you. Your gaze finds familiar patterns. There is Orion, the hunter, striding across the celestial sphere, his bell to perfect, 3- star line. You see the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, the tight, glittering cluster that looks like a small handful of diamond dust. You trace the long, curving body of Draco the dragon as it wins its way around the pole star. These are not just random arrangements of stars to you. They are characters in a grand, cosmic drama, a story that has been told on nights like this for countless generations. You remember your father pointing these same constellations out to you when you were a boy. He told you the stories behind them, not the Greek myths you would later hear from traders in the north, but your own people's stories. The story of how the Pleiades was a group of brave sisters fleeing a persistent suitor. The story of how the Milky Way was formed when a trader, in his haste, spilled a bag of glowing straw across the heavens. This act of stargazing is perhaps the most ancient and universal of all human routines. For millennia, before the invention of electric lights bleached the sky, this was humanity, last nightly entertainment. Our calendar, and our book of scripture, the regular, predictable movements of the celestial bodies provided a sense of order and permanence in a world that was often chaotic and unpredictable. There is a subtle, ongoing debate among historians of science and culture about the primary purpose of ancient astronomy. Was it driven by practical needs, agriculture, navigation, timekeeping, or was it driven by a more spiritual or philosophical impulse, a desire to understand the cosmos and our place within it? Lying here, feeling the profound sense of peace and connection that comes from this simple act, you feel certain that the two were never separate. The practical and the poetic were two sides of the same coin. The sheer scale of what you are witnessing is a powerful sedative for the mind. Your own concerns, the price of frankincense, the health of your camels, the dangers of the path ahead seem to shrink in significance when measured against the silent, wheeling majesty of the galaxies. It's a form of perspective therapy. The stars don't erase your problems, but they put them in their proper place. They remind you that you are part of a much larger story. You pull your woolen blanket up around your shoulders, the coarse fabric of familiar comfort. The embers of the fire are now a deep, soft red, casting a gentle, flickering glow on the faces of your companions. No one is speaking. There is nothing left to say. You're all sharing this moment, each lost in your own thoughts, yet connected by the shared experience. The only sounds are the incredibly soft hiss of the dying fire and the occasional, distant sigh of a sleeping camel. Your eyelids feel heavy. The herbal tea has done its work, spreading a pleasant, latent feeling through your limbs. Your body is ready for sleep. Your mind, calmed by ritual, gratitude, and the immensity of the cosmos, is also ready. You are not fighting sleep, nor are you anxiously pursuing it. You are simply allowing it to arrive, a welcome and natural conclusion to the long, unbroken rhythm of today. The time for sleep has almost arrived, but there is one final, quiet ritual to perform. It's not a group activity, but a personal one, a last check to ensure the peace of mind that is the true foundation of a good night's rest. You rise from your comfortable position by the fire, your woolen blanket draped over your shoulders. You begin a slow, deliberate walk around the perimeter of this small camp. This is not a patrol born of fear, but a final, reassuring survey. The canyon is bathed in the soft, ethereal light of the stars, a light so bright you can easily see the shapes of the rocks and the dark forms of the acacia trees. Your first stop is the water pool. You stand at its edge for a moment, listening. The surface is a perfect, dark mirror of the sky above. All is still. The water is safe. You feel a quiet sense of gratitude for this life-sustaining gift. Next, you walk towards the grove where the camels are resting. You move silently, your feet making almost no sound on the soft sand. You can hear their soft, rhythmic breathing and the occasional sound of one of them grinding its teeth in its sleep. You see their dark, lumpy shapes, huddled together. They are hobbled and secure. You can see your late camel, a fakir, his long neck curved back against his body. He seems peaceful. Seeing them calm and at rest brings you a deep sense of satisfaction. Their well-minus being is intrinsically linked to your own. If they are at peace, you can be too. You continue your circuit, your eyes scanning the canyon walls, now just dark, silent sentinels under the stars. You are not looking for threats. Not really. You are simply reacquainting yourself with the geography of your temporary home, affirming its safety in your mind. You listen intently to the sounds of the night. And what are those sounds? This is the desert's nightly symphony, a natural white noise that has lulled travelers to sleep for millennia. There is the low, almost sub-audible hum of the wind as it whispers over the top of the canyon walls. There is the gentle rustle of leaves in the acacia trees. You hear the distant, lonely call of a night bird. Cozy. There is the soft, rhythmic chewing of a camel that is not quite asleep. And underpinning it all is the sound of the fire you just left, a faint, almost imperceptible crackle and hiss. This soundscape is a forgotten component of healthy sleep. In a world before the constant hum of refrigerators, traffic, and electronics, the human ear was attuned to these subtle, natural rhythms. Modern science has rediscovered this, marketing white noise machines that replicate the sounds of rain, wind, or waves. For you, this is not a product. It's simply the sound of the world at rest. There's an interesting, and somewhat speculative, theory in the field of evolutionary psychology that suggests humans are genetically predisposed to feel safe and relaxed when they hear the sounds of a crackling fire. The idea is that for hundreds of thousands of years, the fire meant warmth, protection from predators, cooked food, and community. The sound of fire, therefore, became hardwired into our brains as a signal that it was safe to lower our guard and rest. Whether this is scientifically provable is another question, But as you listen to the faint sounds from your campfire, you feel the deep, instinctual truth of it. Your final stop on your quiet tour is the fire itself. Khalid is still there, the last one away. As is his custom, he is performing one final, crucial task. With a long stick, he carefully pushes the remaining glowing embers together into a tight mound. Then, he scoops a thick layer of sand and ash over them, burying the fire's heart. This isn't to extinguish it, it's to preserve it. Buried like this, insulated from the cold night air, the embers will retain their heat and stay alive until morning. It's a living fire, sleeping under a blanket of sand, ready to be reawakened with a few breaths of air at dawn. It's an act of profound foresight and efficiency, ensuring that the gift of fire is carried forward into the new day. You watch him complete the task, and you exchange a simple, silent nod. It's an acknowledgement of shared responsibility, a confirmation that all is well. Your final xunshi is complete. The circle of safety has been checked and confirmed. Now, there is nothing left to do but surrender to the night. Your nod to Khalid is the day's final piece of business. You turn away from the sleeping fire and walk the few steps to the entrance of your tent. Ducking your head, you slip through the flap into the darkness within. The change in atmosphere is immediate and total. The vast, open, star-filled space of the canyon is replaced by a close, intimate blackness. The air here is still and noticeably warmer, holding the faint, residual heat from the bodies that have occupied it. It carries the familiar, comforting scent of your life, the slightly oily smell of raw wool, the lingering ghost of wood smoke, and the very faint, almost undetectable undertone of the spices and resins that are your trade. Your eyes, accustomed to the starlight, can't penetrate this deep, soft darkness. You don't need them to. You navigate by memory and touch, taking the 3 steps to your designated sleeping space. It's not a room, not even a corner. It's simply a spot on a large woven mat that you share with your kin. Privacy, in the modern sense, is a concept that doesn't exist here. Security is found in proximity, not separation. Your bed is a simple affair. It consists of your sleeping mat and the thick, heavy woolen blanket you carried from the fire. For a pillow, you use your own saddlebag. You position it at the head of the mat. It's not soft, but it's familiar. It's filled with your personal effects, a spare cloth, your knife minus sharpening stone, the small pouch of salt. Resting your head on it is a final, tactile connection to your journey, to your identity as a traveler. This is a common practice, a piece of practical, unwritten tradition. Why carry a separate pillow when an essential piece of your equipment can serve the same purpose? You slip off your sandals and lie down, pulling the heavy blanket over you. The wool is coarse against your skin, not a soft caress, but a substantial, reassuring weight. It smells faintly of camel and dust. The blanket begins to trap your body heat, creating a pocket of warmth that slowly pushes back against the desert cold. Only your face is exposed to the cool air of the tent. This contrast, the cocoon of warmth around your body and the crisp cold on your cheeks, is a profoundly pleasant sensation, a final sensory signal that it is time to rest. You lie on your back, listening. The sounds of the desert are muffled now, filtered through the thick, woven walls of the tent. The wind is no longer a whisper in your ear, but a distant, dense rumble. The dominant sound is the soft, rhythmic breathing of the others sleeping around you. A child murmurs in their sleep. A man sighs and shifts his weight. Historians and sociologists often wonder about the true effect of this communal sleeping arrangement, a standard for most of humanity throughout history. Did this constant, unavoidable intimacy foster a deeper, more resilient sense of community and security, a subconscious reinforcement that you are part of a pack, safe from the dangers of the night? Or did it create underlying tensions and a deep, unfulfilled need for personal space? There is no simple answer, and the truth likely varies from person to person, culture to culture. But for you, in this moment, the sound of your companion's breathing is a lullaby. It is the sound of a living, breathing family, safe and accounted for. Your mind, which was so active all day navigating, calculating, worrying, observing, is finally quiet. The herbal tea, the prayer, the stargazing, the final look. All these routines have worked together to systematically shut down the noisy parts of your brain. You are not thinking about tomorrow. You are not replaying the events of today. You are simply present, floating in the warm darkness. Your body feels heavy, anchored to the earth. It's a pleasant weight, the feeling of muscles that have worked hard and earned their rest. You are sinking, not into an anxious void, but into a welcoming sea of stillness. Sleep is no longer something you must achieve. It is a place you have already arrived at. You just need to close your eyes and let go. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is somehow deeper, more absolute, than the darkness of the tent. This is the great turning inward, the beginning of the journey's final stage. For a long moment, there is nothing, just a sensation of your own slow breathing, the feeling of the heavy blanket, and the solid earth beneath you. Then, the drift begins. It's a slow, gentle letting go. The anchor of your conscious mind, which has held you so firmly all day, begins to slip. Your thoughts, which were once orderly and linear, start to unspool. They lose their structure, becoming fluid and unpredictable. A fragment of the song from the morning ride floats by, its melody blending with the memory of the taste of the evening's stew. You see an image of the soul trader's face, but it has your father's eyes. These are not thoughts you are creating. They are things you are witnessing, like debris floating down a slow moving river. This is the state between worlds, the threshold between wake of soul and sleep that the modern world rushes past. For you, it is a sacred and meaningful space. You believe that when you dream, your soul actually leaves your body to travel in other realms. This transitional state is the soul preparing for its departure. This belief is as old as your people. Dreams are not just fantasies. They are experiences. They are sources of wisdom, prophecy, and warning. A dream might tell you which route to take, warn you of a coming sandstorm, or bring you a message from a distant ancestor. This reverence for dreams was not unique to your people. You remember a merchant from the lands of the Greeks telling you stories of dream incubation. He spoke of special, holy temples where the sick or troubled would go to sleep on sacred ground. They would pray to the god of that temple, hoping the god would send them a specific dream, a dream that would reveal the cure for their illness or the solution to their problem. The idea of traveling to a specific place to catch a dream from a god seemed strange to you, but the underlying respect for the power of the dream world was deeply familiar. What is a dream? You believe it is a journey, a message, a truth veiled in symbols. Historians and scientists of a future you cannot imagine will debate this endlessly. They will argue whether dreams are the brain's way of sorting and filing the day's memories, a kind of mental housekeeping, or if they are a psychological theater for processing emotions and rehearsing for future challenges. They will try to map the neural pathways and chemical reactions that create these nightly visions. But for you, the question is much simpler. A dream is real. The journey is real. The physical sensations of your body begin to fade. The feeling of the course will blanket against your skin dissolves. The boundary between your body and the sleeping mat, and the mat and the earth beneath it, blurs. You feel a sensation of sinking, of being gently absorbed by the ground. It's not frightening. It's a feeling of returning. You are a child being welcomed back into the arms of the earth. The sounds from outside the tent weave themselves into the fabric of your drifting thoughts. The sigh of a camel becomes the whisper of a jinn in a lonely canyon. The faint, high whistle of the wind becomes the sound of a reed flute playing a sad, beautiful melody. Your mind is illumined, and it is weaving these stray threads of reality into the tapestry of the dream that is about to begin. A single, powerful scent cuts through the haze frankincense. It's not the smell from your cargo chests. This scent is purer, more intense. It's the smell of the sacred. It feels like a guide, a fragrant thread pulling you deeper, leading your soul out of the tent and into the vastness of the night. You follow it willingly. The last vestiges of your conscious self are dissolving now. The you that worries about trade and travel is gone. The you that is a father, a husband, a trader is fading. All that is left is the traveler, the dreamer. The final coherent thought you have is a simple one, a sense of profound trust. Trust in the night, Trust in the earth. Trust in the journey your soul is about to take. And then, the last thread notes. You are no longer sinking. You are falling, softly, into the deep, silent well of sleep. You are in the dream now. The walls of the tent have dissolved, and the solid earth beneath you has become a flowing river of sand. You are not lying down anymore. You are floating, weightless, carried along by a current of scent. It is the frankincense, a fragrant pathway leading you through the dark. The dream is not a story with a beginning and an end. It is a mosaic of images, feelings, and sounds, all happening at once. You see the gnarled, twisted trunks of the boswellia trees on a distant, sun-scorched cliffside. You see the milky white tears of resin weeping from a fresh cut in the bark, and you feel a strange, phantom ache, a sense of the tree's own sacrifice. The dream shows you the origin, the source of your livelihood, a place you have never actually seen but know intimately through the stories of others. Then, the perspective shifts. You are no longer in the desert. You are in a vast, marble hole, a place of cool shadows and echoing footsteps. A man in white robes, a priest of some unknown god, stands before a golden altar. He is lighting a piece of your frankincense, a pearly -weight tear from your own chest. He places it on a glowing coal in a silver censer, and a plume of fragrant white smoke rises towards the high, vaulted ceiling. You watch the smoke curl and drift, and you understand that this is the destination. This is where your long, dusty journey ends. In a prayer. Who is this priest? Who is his God? The dream does not say. It is not important. What is important is the connection. The dream shows you the invisible thread that stretches all the way from the lonely tree on a cliff in southern Arabia, through your hands, across the vast desert, to this altar in a foreign land. You are not just a merchant carrying a commodity. You are a conduit. You are the middleman between the earth and the heavens. This understanding of dreams is a source of profound, even divine, knowledge is a deeply held belief. For you, this is not your brain sorting memories. This is your soul traveling and learning. In other lands, in the great cities, there are men who are professional dream interpreters. Kings and pharaohs summon them to court to decipher their nocturnal visions, believing a dream can foretell a battle's outcome, a coming famine, or a political betrayal. The debate for them, as for scholars now, is where the meaning lies. Is the meaning inherent in the dream itself, a direct message from the divine, or is meaning something the interpreter skillfully creates, a story they weave from the threads of symbol and fear? The scene shifts again. You are now looking through the eyes of a wealthy woman in a city you recognize as Rome from the tales of other traders. She is adding a grain of your frankincense to a small pot of perfumed oil. She dabs the oil behind her ears. For her, the resin is not about prayer. It's about luxury, a way to stand out in a crowded, smelly city. It is a mark of status. The dream shows you all of it, the sacred and the profane, the priest and the socialite. It reveals the full, complex life of your cargo. It's a humbling inspiring vision. The small, hard lumps of resin in your chests contain all of these stories, all of these desires. The river of scent begins to slow. The images become less clear, the edges blurring. The marble hole in the Roman villa dissolve back into swirling sand. The dream has delivered its message. It has shown you your place in the world, the true meaning of your long walk. It was not a dream of prophecy or warning, but one of clarification. It has answered a question you didn't even know you were asking. The current of frankincense fades, leaving you floating in a quiet, empty darkness. The journey of the soul is over for now. It is returning. You are sinking again, but this time into a different kind of sleep. A deeper, more dreamless place. The restorative void. The dream is gone. The last echoes of the marble hall and the scent of the Roman perfume fade into a quiet, formless star. Your soul, its journey complete, has returned home to your body. You are back in the tent, in the canyon, under the stars, but you are not awake. You have simply passed through one realm of sleep and are now entering another, one that is far deeper and more mysterious. This is the true abyss of rest, the dreamless sleep. It is a state of profound nothingness, a quiet ocean without a surface. There are no images here, no stories, no symbols to interpret. The you that thinks and feels and remembers has been completely dismantled. Your consciousness, the inner narrator of your life, has finally fallen silent. What is left? Only the most essential, primal functions of your being. Your heart beats, a slow, steady drum in the vast silence. Your lungs draw breath, an unconscious tide of air flowing in on doubt. This is the body's sacred time. While your soul has been traveling, your physical self now begins its own quiet, vital work. It is repairing the tiny tears in the muscles of your legs and back. It is replenishing the energy stores in your liver. It is mending and restoring, knitting you back together, cell by cell. Your people have a belief about this deepest phase of sleep. They say that this is when a person truly reconnects with the earth. It's as if tiny, invisible roots grow from your sleeping form, reaching down through the mat, through the sand, and into the deep, solid ground beneath. Through these roots, you draw not water, but strength. You absorb the earth, stillness, its resilience, its ancient, unshakable stability. You are not just sleeping on the world, you are plugging into it, recharging your very essence from its source. You will awaken not just rested, but grounded, your foundations firm for the new day. Modern science, with its charts and brain waves, would call this slow -wave sleep and talk about the release of growth hormones and the consolidation of memory. But does this cold, clinical language truly capture the mystery of it? The debate lingers. What is the ultimate purpose of this nightly surrender, this temporary death? Is it merely a biological maintenance cycle, like a boat being brought into dry dock for repairs? Or is there something more, a necessary psychological reset that allows the mind to face the world anew each morning? You, in your deep, dreamless state, offer no answers. You are beyond questions. You are a body, breathing in the dark, a heart, beating a steady rhythm, a living part of the silent, sleeping canyon. Outside the tent, the last embers of the fire finally wink out. The stars continue their majestic, silent procession across the sky. The earth turns, slowly, inexorably, carrying you towards a dawn you cannot see and do not need. This is the final, forgotten routine, the total surrender, the absolute trust in the restorative power of the void. There is no struggle here, no anxiety. There is only a profound and perfect peace, a peace that will last until the first faint hint of light touches the canyon rim, until the world shifts and the first bird calls, signaling that it is time for the soul to return, for the mind to reassemble, and for the journey to begin all over again. You are being unmade, so that you can be remade, whole and new, by the morning light. And so the night passes, a silent, unmeasured river of time, carrying you gently toward the first faint hint of a dawn you will not see. The story of the trader is over, his cycle of work and rest complete. You awake to the cold air and the smell of coffee, his body renewed by the deep, earthy sleep you have just witnessed. But for you, the journey continues inward, deeper into the soft darkness. The edges of your own awareness are blurring now, the sounds of my voice fading into the gentle tide of your own breathing. Feel the comfortable weight of your own blanket, a safe and heavy anchor in the quiet harbor of your room. The canyon, the stars, the campfire, let them all dissolve into the soft, warm stillness that is waiting for you. There is nothing left to do now, no path to follow, no decision to make. There is only the simple, easy rhythm of your breath, pulling you down, down, into your own restorative peace. Let the silence hold you. Let the darkness heal you. It is time to sleep. The end of the article. Good night.